So yeah, just smiling. All right, hey guys, welcome back to howtobuycrypto.com. I am here, and what's this place called? There you go, Hair Industry Salon, here with Mike Felix, a good friend of mine. And last time I was here, I was talking to Mike about Bitcoin and trying to explain to him cryptocurrencies, and he's got a lot of questions that people that are new to the space have, and he had some. We ended up talking for quite a while, and I was trying to explain some things to him. And generally, what happens is I know what I'm talking about, so I'm kind of reverse engineering our conversation. And so I don't start with a good premise. Basically, I'll start answering questions, and then I kind of get in trouble because I don't start with a good foundation. So, Mike, what do you, as far as understand about what cryptocurrencies are, what Bitcoin is?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So after that long conversation last time, what I asked, was like right before I started the video was like, do you remember what we talked about? And you're like, no, I tried to explain it one time, and then just end up saying, go look it up.
Yeah.
So he's like, I know it's currency, and I know it's digital, and there are bits of it. So yeah, those are all true statements. But as far as defining it and helping people to understand what it is, I figured it'd be good to try and start over. So basically, in 2008, a guy, Satoshi Nakamoto, was basically found some solutions to creating online currency. Basically, there's one of the problems that you have with any currency is just like we have fraud departments with the US dollar as far as like checks and having verifications on those things, you have the same problem with digital currencies, right? So with the US dollar, you can steal people's identities and spend when they don't approve of it. And so you have those issues with any digital currency, right? So Bitcoin was not the first, because the US dollar has been digital for quite a while. We've been using credit cards for like 50 years or plus.
Yeah.
And so it's not the first digital currency, and it's not the first currency to use encryption either. When people say cryptocurrency, that's what they're talking about is encryption. So basically, but what Satoshi did figure out was how to make it decentralized. So if I wanted to pay you for this haircut, generally I use US dollars or I use a credit card, and that has to be, I have to pull it from a bank, and if it's a credit card, it has to clear through a clearinghouse, and you get the fees of the credit cards, like from whatever processor you use, or PayPal, or whatever the case is. Well, so what Bitcoin was trying to solve was, how do I give money from me to you without having to get approval from someone else? And so basically, if I gave you a rock and said this is payment for the haircut, you're probably going to say, well, I don't want a rock, But if I said, well, it's worth $1,000 if you go across the border to Canada, because they really like these type of stones.
It cost me $1,000 to get there.
Yeah. So you still might say, well, I can't go to Canada, so this isn't really worth a lot to me. So you would have to trust that what I give you is worth what I say it's worth. So people say, it's kind of hard to say what came first, the trust that Bitcoin is valuable, or the fact that it is valuable, so people trust it. So it's kind of like the chicken and the egg scenario. What came first? And well, really, Satoshi Nakamoto in 2008 issued a white paper explaining this technology. So Bitcoin, really what it is a software that is set up in a network of peer-to-peer users, similar to the internet, right? So there's no switch to turn off the internet. You're good, man. you don't gotta dodge the camera. I appreciate that. So yeah, basically, the internet, there's no off switch. You can cut some fiber cable, and limit some of the computers from communicating to one another, but you can't just shut down the internet, because it's made up of millions of users and millions of servers, right? Millions of computers that are connected together.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a very brilliant design, and because it's hard to stop, Satoshi Nakamoto says, why don't I decentralize this currency? Why don't I decentralize this network and let anybody that wants to join it, and anybody that wants to be a part of moving this currency. So basically, if you download the code to Bitcoin, you can do it on any computer that's got a few gigs of RAM and a few hundred gigs of storage, and you can run this Bitcoin software and become a part of the network. And so anybody can do it, but the deal is no one computer is more important than another. So even if I run the code to validate transactions and eventually come up with a payout, which is how it works. So some computers are set up to, as they validate these transactions, and they come up to find a solution to this code, they're paid with Bitcoin, and that's why they mine it. So it's really expensive to run this software now. It used to be really light, really fast, but now there's a bunch of computers doing it around the world, and that's part of its strength, is that there are thousands of, the computer's called a node that runs a software. There are thousands of nodes around the world, and so there's no way to shut them all down, because even if you separated them all, if they have the code on the computer, then you can plug it in at another place at another time and run it again, and it automatically searches for and finds other people running that code. And so if you turn it off for a year and then plug it back in, and anybody else is running the software, it will automatically update itself and run again. So it's what they say, it's unstoppable. Bitcoin is unstoppable because you're never going to get rid of all of the computers that are running it. And so basically, the computers that run the code and validate the transactions provide the service, or the basic, it's basically a service, or the network together to be able to run the currency. Now, I know this is a long way off from what, explaining how Bitcoin has its value, but because of all the energy that it takes to run these computers, the payout has to be high enough to run it, because why would I pay for something that costs me, unless it's valuable to me? So the way that you decentralize this network is paying people for running it fast enough to come up with the solutions to make the transaction actually work. So I know I've talked a lot and you haven't said a whole lot.
Dude, you lost me at Canada.
Okay, so at Canada.
Where does the money come from?
Okay, so originally you have Satoshi was running the code on his computer, and he said anybody that wants to run this code can create Bitcoin by running this code. And so the people that did basically made these coins, and the network was easier to run because there was much less of them at the time, and they would solve these codes. They would solve these problems, or this mathematic formula, and come up with an answer. And with that answer, they get paid in Bitcoin. And basically, Bitcoin was limited to a supply of 21 million ever to be in existence. And there are obviously trillions of US dollars, so they're not worth as much as what Bitcoin would be, right? That's why gold is valuable, because it's limited. There's a limited supply. And, well, Bitcoin, there's no physical form of it, so if you have the code to run Bitcoin as its digital form, then you have some of that value that was created by the person that generated the electricity to get that Bitcoin. So some of the value comes from someone is willing to spend money to make this, and then they get paid for spending that money.
Okay.
So
could I create my own Bitcoin?
You could absolutely create your own currency, right? You can take their code, match it, and make your own. But then you'd have to convince people that yours is as valuable as the one that was created in 2008, which is there are hundreds and actually thousands of other people that are trying to do that. But Bitcoin remains number one because it's got over a $40 billion market cap and thousands of people around the world that want to use it.
So you're paying money for this code,
Pretty much, yeah.
and then are you getting parts of the code or the whole code?
So each coin is basically a fraction of the whole of what Bitcoin is, right? So you have one piece of it. So
you have the limited amount of code,
yeah,
and then the Bitcoins are just fractions of that limited amount of code.
correct.
And you're paying for parts of that code.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are only about 16 million out right now, and so the closer we get to 21 million, the harder it is to mine. They made the code purposefully harder to mine over time because computers get faster. And so if the code was still as easy to mine as it was in the beginning, we would have mined it all already.
So what if they make the code longer?
So the code is, there are people right now that support the code, right? So there are people called coders that are the oversight of the future of Bitcoin. So there is no one group that controls the future of it. There are miners, the people that run the code. There are developers or programmers, coders, that can make upgrades to the code. And then there are the users like me that buy it and hold it as a store of value. And basically, they have to all come to an agreement to make any change. Because it's decentralized, my vote is not worth any more than any of the other, millions of people that are holding it. So if a million people wanted to make a change to the code, they would have to basically get approval from the rest of the people that hold Bitcoin.
Okay.
So it can be changed, but it's very difficult. And actually, the last couple of years have been debating the upgrade that just happened on August 1st. And it took them a couple of years to come to any kind of agreement. And it's still not done. It's just like one of the first steps of this new code.
Okay. So the only, there's no gold backing it.
No.
The only thing that's backing it is what people invested in.
Correct. And the fact that only reason for us, do you do anything with gold?
No.
You don't use it, but
My hairstyle, so
so
about quarters.
so what I'm saying, if somebody said, "I'll give you an ounce of gold to give me a haircut," would you take that?
Heck yeah.
Okay, because it has value, right?
Yeah.
Because we agree that it has value.
Yeah.
So
It's more than what my haircut costs.
exactly. So someone is willing to pay you for that much that they would be willing to give you. It's the same with Bitcoin, because there are people right now, it's about $2,700 for one Bitcoin. If I said I'll give you a Bitcoin and you understand, hey, I can get more value out of this coin than what actually cost me to give you a haircut, then you could say, yeah, I'll take that because I see the value in it.
Okay.
So that's because we agree that there's value, it has value.
Okay.
So there's the same with gold. Now there are technological uses for gold, for like connectors, like you're a musician.
Mhm.
There are gold tipped, cables because they're good conductors, right?
Yeah.
But you don't have any use for it other than its aesthetic value or to cash it in.
So basically, it's kind of like, people that play like WoW and stuff, like selling
Yeah.
off their upgraded characters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
massive scale.
But only because somebody is willing to pay for that upgraded character, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Bitcoin has its value because people agree that it has value. And there was a lot of money that went into making it in the first place.
Mhm.
And there are people willing to run that code to still be able to use it.
It's a pretty cool idea.
It's a very world-changing idea. They're calling it the Internet of Money because it's a network across the world that, just like the internet, that can't be stopped.
So does it go into an account that you can withdraw from?
Yes.
Or do you just have to cash out?
Yes, no, you can hold it. You can actually write down a paper number of all your value in it and just hold it in your wallet if you want to, that you can't use without that number.
Yeah. But where do you go to cash it in?
I can do it on my phone. I've got an app called Coinbase,
Yeah.
and it's connected to my bank account. And see this Coinbase app? And this shows me the actual value right now, $2,792.
Yeah.
And it says buy or sell. I can sell some of the Bitcoin that I have for however many dollars, you know, that it's going for.
Okay.
So it can go directly into my account. Or I have this debit card. If I don't want to do it that way, I can use this debit card. It's called a shift card that's connected to that same account that basically, you know, I can spend this just like any other credit card.
And so is that like, using that, is that selling your Bitcoins?
Yes, it is. Yeah, but it's used as a debit. So, you know, it's not like a credit. I don't have any, you know, use that I don't already have. I don't have any value with them that I don't have. Yeah.
That's cool.
So you understand a little bit better now this go around.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Anyhow, okay, so do you have more questions?
So how do you get started in it?
Okay, you can download this Coinbase app on your phone, and I'll give you the link to how to do it. And you can buy $5, $10
Is it gonna be at the bottom of the video?
Yeah, it will be at the bottom of the video. So, hey guys, thank you for tuning in. Thanks, Mike, for being a good sport and you know, listening to the whole spill. And it's a sweet haircut. Thank you very much. And guys, I will talk to you soon. God bless you. I'll see you later.